You are listening to Option A or B with your Chris Canada. Welcome to Option A or B, where informal barbershop-like anything-goes debating topics gets mixed with some formal parliamentary-like debating structure.
What up? And welcome to the best debate podcast and debate platform, honestly, in the entire recorded human history of podcasts and platforms. If you haven't done so already, you definitely need to go to optionairb.com, where you can listen to and vote for who won each debate, see our upcoming debates, and even subscribe to our newsletter. And most importantly, if you want to become a debater on this show or just submit a debate topic for the show, you can do that too at optionairb.com. Matter of fact, we're serious about debater diversity at Option A or B. So if you're an Asian person, an LGBT person, a person over the age of 65 years old, or a person with a body mass index over 40, join us because we're serious about making sure everyone's voices are heard. And now it's time to jump into another debate. So let's do this. Aubrey Drake Graham, better known as Drake, is a rapper, singer, and actor born and raised in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, also known as T-Dot or The Six. Drake first got his attention while playing the character Jimmy Brooks or Wheelchair Jimmy on the hit television series Degrassi: The Next Generation. Drake began getting largely recognized as a rapper after connecting with Lil Wayne's Young Money Entertainment and dropping the very popular mixtape So Far Gone in 2009. He eventually signed with Lil Wayne's music label and has since gone on to have much commercial success, including millions of albums sold, multiple Billboard #1s, and multiple Grammy Awards. Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, better known as Kendrick Lamar or K-Dot, is a rapper and songwriter born and raised in Compton, California, USA, also known as Bompton. Kendrick Lamar began getting major recognition after signing with indie music label Top Dog Entertainment and dropping the mixtape called Overly Dedicated in 2010, which, like Drake's So Far Gone mixtape, was a huge success. In 2012, Kendrick Lamar signed with Dr. Dre's Aftermath music label and has since gone on to have much commercial success, including millions of albums sold, multiple Billboard #1s, and multiple Grammy Awards. Now, with rappers from the 1990s and 2000s like Jay-Z, Nas, and Lil Wayne appearing less interested in holding on to this #1 spot in hip-hop, rappers like Drake and Kendrick Lamar appear destined to fill this void. And that brings us here for Option A or B debate, the contention. Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar. In Option A, who is in agreement that Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar, is a man by, what is your name, sir?
Emmanuel Midy.
Emmanuel Midy. And Emmanuel Midy, where are you from?
I'm from New Jersey.
You're from New Jersey. Is that the same place where Queen Latifah and Naughty by Nature are from?
The same hallowed state, yep.
So that means you probably just have a rich hip-hop understanding.
I would like to think so, yeah.
That's awesome. And so then, if you have a rich hip-hop understanding, what makes you qualified to debate this topic?
I think I follow hip-hop pretty closely, and I've thought about the question on who is a superior rapper a bit, so I think I'm qualified to debate it.
And Option B, who is in disagreement that Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar, is a woman by the, what is your name, miss?
My name is Shayla Byrd.
Shayla Byrd. And Shayla Byrd, where are you from?
I grew up outside of Memphis, Tennessee, spent 10 years in New York, and I currently reside in Washington, D.C.
Well, that's an awesome lineage. And
lineage.
I guess. And well, I would say so. New York is a great place. So is Memphis. So is D.C.
See?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm already giving you too much props before you get started. Shayla Byrd, what makes you qualified to debate this topic?
I'm qualified to debate this because before I was a copywriter like I am now, I was an entertainment journalist in New York for about 10 years. And I wrote for magazines like Vibe and Double XL about music and hip hop and things like this. And I'm also a big fan of both of these artists, having followed their careers over the course of my career. And I also exclusively date hip hop heads and music nerds. So I've had this conversation in some variation a lot over the past 10 years. So,
well, first of all, before we get into this, why do you seem to gravitate towards hip hop nerds?
I really love music and always have, and before it was even my job. So I go to a lot of concerts and a lot of music stuff. So that's just where I meet people and we have conversations about music.
So hypothetically, because I'm not going to infer that this isn't a reality, if you had a Tinder, you're going to put on your bio that you must love hip hop.
No, it's corny, but I would maybe quote somebody, a song or something.
Oh, that's how you're going to reel them in?
Yeah, that's how I would reel them in.
All right, so what quote would, again, hypothetically, what quote do you think would be a nice way to reel in a hip-hop nerd?
Some obscure thing that's not off of some album track or something. Or
I thought you had like a literal quote.
I don't have one like on deck.
Okay. Because I know someone, and I'm going to have to bleep this out. I knew a white girl who once used to quote, "Minus the bullshit, life's great." And that made me kind of like give her, like, I'm like, you're a white girl talking about Young Jeezy. That's what
Well, you know what kind of demographic she skews towards.
Well, yeah. So, okay.
Hope she's not listening, but okay.
Yeah, but even if she may, then it doesn't matter.
She might take it as a compliment. You remembered her.
True. Or I'm hypothetically speaking. Again, we don't know this, listeners. So let's get into this. Just to let everyone know, we have 4 rounds. In the first 2 rounds, both option A or B will be able to speak uninterrupted. In round 3, both option A or B will be able to converse, and we call that the head-to-head round. And then in round 4, they will have their closing arguments. And just like any debate, both option A or B need to make points of information that make their case. And basically, when I say points of information, they need to make logical points that make their case. And so let's get started. So option A, who is in agreement that Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar, Emmanuel, Midy, go for it, sir.
So let me begin by saying I want to make it clear that I think both artists are quite talented. But when it comes to the question of who's the better rapper, I have to lean heavily in the direction of Drake. And sort of when I was thinking about this question, I was like, well, how do you define who a better rapper is? What kind of objective criteria do you put into bear? And how do you sort of look at the question? Because, I mean, subjectively, we can each have our own sort of taste, and we can hear Kendrick rap or Drake rap and have our own preference there. But on a larger scale, how do you define this question? And objectively, I looked at what would be ideal proxies, and I was thinking record sales or charts or critical acclaim. And I think if you look at all 3 of those points, you'd have to give the nod to Drake. But also I wanted to think about transcendence. And I'm trying to think about when growing up, Jay-Z was the premier artist. And then slowly after that, he started to hand the baton over to Kanye. And I think in the 2010s, there's no argument that would state that the baton has been handed to Kendrick. I think it's been handed to Drake. And explicitly, Kanye has said that he and Jay-Z formed a throne in response to Drake. And I think even when you think about where hip-hop is headed and how sonically hip-hop is moving away from the traditionalist hip-hop rap frame, rap variant that Kendrick is more of a part of, more of a school of, Drake has moved hip hop in his sort of melodic direction. And I think for the last 7 years, he's centered hip hop around him. And you can see that with the artists that have come up under him. You can see that in the tours he's made and how he's turned OVO Fest into almost one of the premier hip hop events culturally. And I think you can definitely look at how there's no rap artist that has been more consistent on the charts. And if I want to make a sports analogy, I would say Drake is a 5-tool player. And oftentimes he's slighted for singing almost as good as he raps, for being a premier rapper and also a great hook maker. And people sort of discount how hard it is to make repetitive hooks. I mean, if it was so easy, everybody would make great songs. And sometimes the popularity becomes a slight on his actual rapping ability. With that being said, I'd say that his 3 critically acclaimed projects, Thank Me Later, Take Care, Nothing Was the Same, in my opinion, sort of best the 2 projects that Kendrick's had recently. I think Kendrick's last project was a bit dense to me. I think it was a bit riddled with a lot of pedantry. I think Kendrick thought he was more of a teacher than he may actually be. And I think when I listen to Drake, there's a sonic presence there. It's melodically better. And I think he's musically and sonically a more adept artist.
And option B, Shayla Byrd. I know you're a hip hop nerd. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say in rebuttal to that. So option B, please go for it.
I think it's interesting that you brought up album sales because in this world of hip hop, especially these days and age, I think album sales are definitely not a very good indicator of like artistic integrity. Because you can talk about, I mean, of course, Drake is a very popular artist. He's, he's really hot and he's like on the memes and he's part of a really popular crew with Young Money, and there's a lot of drama with Nicki and Meek. And so it's important that you don't get album sales confused with being a good rapper. So I'm glad that you kind of started off in saying that. I think it's very important to understand, to continue to understand, especially as streaming has become such a huge thing and bootlegging and all that. So like at the end of the day, yes, you were right that Drake has sold maybe 1 million more albums than Kendrick, but that's definitely not an indicator of him being a better rapper, a better artist. And this is not who's a more popular rapper, who's a hotter rapper, it's who's a better rapper. And so in talking about those things, I think all the factors of being a good rapper, from your flow to your lyrics to your beat selection, your voice, like in every single category that you can judge a rapper, Kendrick wins on every level. And you talked about, you can talk about like sonic aesthetic. I remember you mentioning that. And I don't really think you can credit those things to Drake necessarily because of the collaborative, like, even if you're just talking straight lyrics, Drake has always been accused of having a lot of ghostwriters, and that's been a big thing between him and Kendrick talking about, defending his rap and being like he's the only one who writes his rap, and there's that authenticity in Kendrick's music that isn't found as much in Drake's music because of that. So there's like that aspect of it, the fact that Kendrick's music draws on like the jazz and the hip hop and the spoken word. And it's just musically, I feel like it's a lot more diverse, and it has been from the beginning, where I feel like Drake's music is a lot more trendy and goes with, what's popular at the time. And I don't think even a lot of that can be credited to Drake himself. It's more like his producers. And if you were to really talk about that aesthetic that Drake kind of lives in, I feel like that actually began with Kanye and Cudi before him. So I don't even think that you can give Drake credit for that. And then, so I think Kendrick wins there as well. I think that Kendrick is a better rapper just because of his the lyrical content of his music. Like the storytelling components are like on par with a Pac, on par with a Jay-Z, in a way that not only is it actually like I don't think it's too dense, but I like that. I think that density, that lyrical complexity, I think that adds to him being a good rapper, in a way that you said that maybe that you don't like it, but I think that adds to him being just a more complex artist and a better artist, because not only does he do that, or not only is his music complex, but it's also like easy to listen to. Like people like will ride to it, they'll party to it. So it's not like he's the only artist I think of our generation who has been able to balance like that social component with like the lyricism and being a unique artist, and also having really great music, like aesthetically great music. And like it's like a balance of all these things, and he does every part of it well. And so that's why I think Kendrick is a better rapper.
So all I can say right now is that I'm a fan of both guys. I want all the listeners to know I'm a fan of both guys. So I just want that to be clear. After hearing both arguments, I couldn't even tell you why I would like one guy over the other. So Midy, we're going into round 2. It's your turn again. Do you believe that Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar? Go for it, sir.
Yeah, no, for sure. And well spoken, Shayla. But I think you bring up some points that I think are often used to disparage Drake without any real founding. When you say Drake's inauthentic, well, what does that mean? I mean, he raps about total inwardness. He raps about his emotional state. He raps about people make fun of him because he raps about girls he's dated. He mines his own past to rap. How is that inauthentic? That would be the height of authenticity, right? Because he's mining his own personal experiences. Unlike, let's say, is Rick Ross authentic? I mean, sometimes authenticity is used in hip hop to just mean this hyper masculinity, this representation of what a male should be, and Drake disavows that. And also in terms of popularity, you're tremendously right that just being popular does not mean that you're a great rapper. It doesn't mean you're a better rapper than Kendrick per se, but it does mean that people who consume rap music find that Drake as a rapper is more effective at making rap music, or that his songs speak to them, or that his music he makes more aligns with their sensibilities. And if we're comparing rappers, which is the business of making rap music, I think popularity has to be taken into account. It can't be the only weighted metric, but we have to look at who is more popular. And you said Drake's music is trendy, and Kendrick hews towards more jazz, hip hop, spoken word. That's cool. I mean, I think that, we can look at, and as I mentioned earlier, that Kendrick is, very skilled, and he harkens to a sort of classic mold of a rapper where it's like wicked puns, metaphors, switching up his flow. But I think Drake has all those skills as well. I think we forget about Drake's rap because he's more concerned with sort of plush sound and combining R&B and R&B variations in his raps. And I mean, R&B and jazz, I mean, there's no better sound just because Kendrick uses more jazz interpolations and Drake uses more R&B. Who does it better? And to my mind, I think Drake is more effective at leveraging the sort of musical niches he enjoys than Kendrick is. My last point is that you mentioned that Kanye opened the door, and I totally agree with you. And as I noted, I think Drake took the baton from Kanye, but I think Kanye opened the door for relatability and emoting and rap, but I think Drake took that door and completely removed it. He completely took on that emoting and that disavowal of feelings and used that to his advantage. And sort of he's become an outlier figure in hip hop, and we're starting to see more and more rappers use that.
So let's pass the microphone back to the hip hop nerd, Shayla Byrd. Option B, go for it.
Okay, so when I'm talking about authenticity, I'm talking about writing your own lyrics. That's where I kind of brought that up. Not so much the content, because anyone can get into a group of writers and talk about their lives. I'm literally talking about who writes their own lyrics, which is obviously a really a big part of hip hop. And I do agree, like I said, I agree with you that popularity is important. Just like I believe that Grammys are important, and speaking of Grammys, Kendrick has actually won more than Drake. But it's not the only metric, and it's not the most important metric by any means. But if you want to talk about popularity, I think a lot of music, if you talk to just people about like who they like better, I think a lot of people hate on Drake so tough. Like I think a lot of even hip hop heads would say that they don't like Drake.
But I think it's because he's light skinned, Shayla, by the way.
Because he's light skinned, because he's emo, because whatever the reason is, there are a lot more people that don't like Drake than don't like Kendrick. And it's because of, the litany of reasons. So if you want to talk about popularity amongst, critics and hip hop heads and people who discuss these things, Drake is way more hated on than Kendrick. And so it's a popularity. Is it records? It's not record sales. It's like the persona of the rapper. Like I think Kendrick wins on that level too.
Is that it?
I mean, I have more. I don't know.
Oh, no. I know. I'm sorry. But no, you dropped the mic. I didn't hear the mic drop. I'm sorry, Shayla Byrd. So now we're at everyone's favorite round, head to head. Midy, I'm going to let you go first because Shayla was doing the talking. Midy, go for it.
Yeah, for sure. And Shayla, I think it's interesting that you bring up ghostwriting as if Drake is not a ghostwriter himself, right? I mean, Drake has been credited with writing tons of material for other people. And then, I mean, to say that there's no history. I mean, there is a history of ghostwriting in hip hop, and I'm not saying that Drake should be let off clean for having people ghostwrite for him. But if you listen to the references that people point to Drake ghostwriting, they weren't Drake's bars. They were like hooks and like intros to songs. They were actually just references, like they were lead ups. They weren't. They don't dispositively show that Drake is not a premier rapper. And if you think about the history of ghostwriting in hip hop, Jesus Walks, does that mean Kanye is not a rapper because Rhymefest wrote that? Did Jay Electronica and Stickman help Nas? I mean, Nas is the rapidy rap god, right? For traditionalists love Nas, and Jay Electronica and Stickman helped him, right? You know. And I think it's really important to note that. Another thing that you mentioned...
You're noting that Drake wrote for other people. Kendrick writes for other people. I'm talking about
exactly. So doesn't that throw into question the whole notion of ghostwriting then? I mean, I think what we're talking about is the sense of people helping each other when they're in the studio together. I mean, I'm sure every rapper has people that assist them or throw them a line here and there. I think when you say Drake is someone that like curries into ghostwriting, that kind of throws his whole artistic merit into play and says, hey, this guy's not even a rapper, he's a fabrication of rapper. But if you actually listen to the, I'm sorry to talk over you, but if you actually listen to the references that people allude to that say Drake gets his lyrics ghostwritten, they're not real lyrics.
But this happens, and even Kendrick has called him out on it. And the thing that makes it real to me and a lot of people is the fact that it seems like Drake himself even knows that Kendrick is a better rapper than him. Similar to the way that Macklemore, like when he lost to Kendrick, he was like, or when he won over Kendrick Album of the Year at the Grammys, he was like, I know. I shouldn't have won that. Drake has always taken that posturing towards everything that Kendrick has alluded to or said about him. So,
but the thing I love about that argument is Kendrick's never really said Drake. I mean, besides the control verse, he's never pointedly gone at Drake in a sense of like calling him out and like saying, "Hey, mano a mano, like let's go at this." And if we're going to talk about,
he's definitely thrown shots at him in very, very clear ways. And Drake not only has he like not said anything, like he's never responded. And so that kind of speaks to the fact that he knows, like, what is he going to do? In the same way that he was very quick to jump on the Meek Mill shit because he felt like he could win that. He's been very, very silent when talking about Kendrick.
Meek Mill made a pointed reference and called him out, and you saw that evisceration. I mean, how can you say this guy can't rap after listening to Back to Back? I mean, he turned a diss record into a hit record. I mean, that's not a qualitative assessment.
Drake can definitely rap. I'm not saying he can't. He just doesn't do it as well as Kendrick. And then another point that I just thought of, since you like, talking about popularity so much, Barack Obama, our first president, the baddest alive, weighed in on this, and he said that he thinks Kendrick is a better rapper than Drake. So I usually don't go this. Did you guys read this?
Is this true? Really?
Yes.
He did say this, but I usually
Are you talking about Obama?
Barack Obama, the only Barack Obama that there is.
Well, I don't know who's the most trill dude of all time, black guy of all time, but I guess that is Obama. I thought it might have been Shaft. I'm old school.
Barack Obama did say this, but I usually don't go to the 60-plus crowd when I want to know about who the best rapper of my day and age.
You're really sticking on this popularity chick on this.
No.
I mean, if we want to have a popularity contest, we can do that, or we can talk about artistic integrity in music.
And I think Drake is right there. I mean, if not superior to Kendrick in terms of artistic integrity. I think Kendrick gets away with, I think Good Kid, Mad City, classic album, amazing album. I don't think To Pimp a Butterfly was a great piece of work. And I think Kendrick maybe ostensibly could take the baton away from Drake. You know, as you see, rappers always fade. But I think in this current moment, when you look at the trajectory of things, there's no artist that has Drake's clout or has the ability to move the hip hop sort of zeitgeist in his direction. Drake is the premier artist right now, and by any sort of metric that I can think of, he proves that. And subjectively, I think he just makes far superior music.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and I think that your reliance on the popular music is false and doesn't really lend itself to this argument because of all the other things that are important in a rapper: longevity, lyrical content, the things I've been saying. And I do think it's important that Drake, or I think I think Drake is a good rapper because of but not because of his popularity. Like, I don't think that the two are linked here, because we're not talking about who's the better pop artist or who's like Miss USA. We're talking about like who's like moving the culture forward, who's being a better artist, who's a better rapper. And that's just a different, that has nothing to do with album sales. So
yeah, I mean, but my contention is I think Drake has both. I think he has the artistic merit and he's the more popular artist. And I think that oftentimes we conflate populism to mean that it's too broad and that if too many people like it, it can't be good. It can't be artistically ingrained in some sort of deeper facet of music criticism. But I think that Drake is a superior rapper and more popular than Kendrick.
He's definitely not a more superior rapper. He's definitely more popular, but
I feel like popularity is almost like a stat more than an opinion. Like, he is more popular just based on how you
but by definition, the most popular rapper is not the best rapper, and your whole argument rests on that. Like, for sure, but MC Hammer was fucking popular. Macklemore is popular. Milli Vanilli was popular. And I mean, you can go, look up Billboard. I'm pretty sure MC Hammer sold more than, I don't know, Jay-Z at the time or whoever. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure You Can't Touch This was more popular than any Jay-Z song ever made.
Yeah, like that's a faulty logical way to base your whole argument about Drake being a better rapper.
No, well, I mean, as I noted earlier, I was like, that's my objective proxy. And I wanted to start off with something objective, something based that we could start off with. And then I wanted to get into subjective claims and things that I thought Drake was superior at. And I think musically, he has a more sonically acute ear. He makes better music to my mind. I think people like to say that Drake is not a great rapper because he sings. But if you listen to Drake's talk records, like the 5 a.m. Dallas, 9 a.m. and 9 a.m. Dallas, 5 a.m. Toronto records where he's just spitting, I think bar for bar, he's up there with anyone. Bar for bar, I think so.
Nah,
I think it's become it's very cool to say Drake is not a good rapper. It's become a sort of like common knowledge or something that's like people will run with just because it's okay. Like, no one's going to defend Drake. He's almost he's almost pained by his own popularity, where it's a sort of this hipsterish revisionism to say, no, he's not a good rapper because he's too popular, but he's actually a great rapper if you listen to his rap.
That's the thing. No one's saying he's a bad rapper. Like, most people will say he's a good rapper. Kendrick Lamar is a better rapper.
But okay, by what? Because Kendrick, I don't. Why? What is the backing for that?
That's what we've been talking about this whole.
Yeah, I'm not persuaded by anything. I say
if we take popularity off the table and we have
exactly. And I think if you want to make a traditionalist argument for a rapidy rap rapper, you would say, yeah, I guess
rapidy rap rapper. Kendrick is a rapidy rap rapper who also makes good music.
But if
that wins awards, is critically acclaimed, and also popular.
So is Drake. And if we look at what...
I don't think anybody's calling Drake a rapidy rapper.
He's not a rappity rapper. And
So if we're talking about rap, who's a better rapper? The rapidy rapper, who is also.
But we're not in the rapidy rap stage, as evidenced by the last artist who was the best rapper before Drake, Kendrick. We've moved past the traditionalist hip hop period where it's just rapidy rap, bars, blah 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 blah. Drake has the ability to make great rap music. The confines around hip hop have moved, and I think Drake is elite at doing what he does.
The confines of rap have moved to what though? And then all you're saying outside of that is
so it's not just Jay-Z style like street rap or lyrical dexterity. There's more to it. There's more. What we would classically define as rap has moved away from just being boom bap and bars. It's come to incorporate a lot more, and I think Drake is the defining artist there.
No, the defining artist.
I believe so. I think in this moment, there's no artist that you could point to as a template for hip hop's new period.
I don't even think that.
Shayla, I'm sorry. Midy, what would you say? Define what hip hop's new period entails for people who are not necessarily familiar with hip hop in general. How would you define this new period and how Drake is somehow the leader of it?
I would say after Kanye, you're seeing music that's expanded the musical framework of hip hop, and it's instead of like straight beats and rhymes, you're creating like larger soundtracks, larger in scope. You have artists now combing more, thinking about emotional interiority. You have artists that are moving away from sort of the worldview of the streets and looking at broader worldviews or even more inward worldviews, where Drake, especially Drake, where he thinks mostly about combing his own past and mining his previous experiences. So I think the scope of hip hop is opened, and it's also like when you listen to Drake music, if you hear like a dance beat, it doesn't mean it's not hip hop. It's still a dance record that he's rapping over, right? So he's also been a benefactor of Kanye. Think about 808s and Heartbreak and how that sort of moved the trajectory of hip hop. Is 808s and Heartbreak a traditional hip hop record?
Right.
No.
What you're describing is what Kanye did. Drake just lives in the house that Kanye built. He didn't push the needle forward. I feel like Kendrick Lamar, he has pushed the needle forward. He has changed the sound. He has merged he has merged those two concepts of hip hop that are hard to find in one artist.
Well, Shayla, I think this is a perfect opportunity for you to like be able to count. No, wait, I'm sorry, Midy, because you're saying in the way that Midy was defining or where we are within hip hop and how Drake is kind of like the leader within the new realm of where we are, and you're saying that Kendrick Lamar is either A, taking us in a different direction, or B, redefining it. This is a great opportunity to explain the difference between what he's doing versus what Drake's doing.
That's what I was trying to do.
I'm sorry.
Before he interrupted me. But yes, I think everything that Midy said is what Kendrick did. And I think that Drake lives in the house, like I said, the house that, I think Drake lives in the house that Kanye built when it comes to that aesthetic of music. And he has definitely capitalized off of that on all of the things that Midy said. I think Kendrick's sound, lyrically, like the layers of the wordplay and like the different, and the way that he has taken like his unique like Cali sound that's like obviously influenced by all these things. Like it's a more unique sound, and it has evolved since his first mixtapes. So there's this unique aesthetic that Kendrick brings to the table, but he also grounds it in like being socially conscious and having some of the old school storytelling components that that are gripping, and the narrative, and he does that all in one package of a successful artist, like critically and also popularly, to put this back in perspective. And that is I think that makes him a better rapper than a Drake, who's popular for doing something that someone else kind of opened the door for.
And let me just say one thing. One thing I'll say that Drake does so well is that I always felt that from the very beginning, the very first time I heard Drake was So Far Gone and all that stuff, and he was in a sense doing Houston type rap, and it felt like he could almost be a chameleon to what was popular. So when, I remember a guy told me, I can't tell the difference between Drake and Lil Wayne on a track. They sound the same. And then, you put Drake on a song with Migos, he sounds like Migos. And so, like, from an executional standpoint, Drake is probably one of the most skilled rappers who've ever rapped. But my question to you, Midy, is that how do you differentiate the difference between greatness within just the ability to be able to follow trends and the difference between someone who kind of is setting trends?
No, for sure. And I think that malleability is a skill, right? The ability to transverse different genres. The fact that Drake was able to hop on Migos and then the next week be on a song with Beyonce shows his versatility as an artist. As I noted earlier, he's a 5'2" player. He's able to succeed in different milieus. And I think
you can say the same thing about Kendrick. Like, he makes songs with Taylor Swift. He can also do a song.
I don't think they're always as good as Drake's songs, but
no.
and to piggyback off to just harp on Shayla, your earlier point about jazz and rap, that's not new at all. You think about Guru's Jazzmatazz. I mean, people have been mining jazz and hip hop and that nexus for forever. So I don't think
it's not new, but Kendrick's sound is unique, and it's evolving, and it's always. It's just, I'll say it's unique to him. And I think that the fact that he draws on those things isn't new, but his sound is new versus a Drake sound that was newish, but it was still in line with, it wasn't something he created.
I've never heard a hip hop artist that sounds like Drake. And I mean, that's,
you said 808 and Heartbreak.
I said 808s and Heartbreaks change the trajectory of rap music, but 808s and Heartbreaks sound nothing like Drake. Kanye, is not especially a depth singer, and I think in terms of like the way they play with melody, it's totally different. And for Kendrick, I think that's what is lacking from his music. I think the melodic component, I just don't sonically, like, if I'm not, when I listen to Pimp a Butterfly, I think it's a great artistic achievement, but is it something that I think I want to listen to? Is it something that I think is musically compelling? Not really. I think it's kind of dense, and I think it's kind of pedantic.
I do want to respond to the argument about it being dense. I think rap music being complex and like layered, and lyrics being layered, is something and being like socially conscious and about various things. I think that's a positive thing for music. I think that's a positive in Kendrick's corner as far as being, not basic music. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Okay, so we're now going into the closing round, which is round 4. You guys don't know who's going first and who's going last. I will let you guys know now. Midy, you will be going first for the contention. Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar. Midy, go for it, sir.
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure there's more I can say that I haven't said already, but I want to double down on some points. I try to make the objective point and say that just being a populist rapper shouldn't be seen as a demerit to your artistic ability. And I say that at this current moment in rap, I think that Drake has both combine that ability to be both popular and still skilled, and move people towards rap as an art form. But he's also a deaf lyricist. He makes great records that you can listen to, I think, and enjoy more than I've subjectively enjoyed Kendrick's music. And I think many more fans, as we can see by the current success of his latest album, would attest to that. I also think that you can't really look at Drake and not look at the collective bearing he's had on making Toronto, which was previously a nothing. a real aesthetic hotbed for music. And you look at The Weeknd, Division, Party Next Door, the people he's moved into the forefront of hip hop and R&B. I think that's a testament to his skill. What did we say about Michael Jordan? He makes players around him great, and I think you have to look at Drake and say he does that. Whereas Kendrick Lamar, TDE, ... So I would like to say that Drake is rap centrifuge, and I think Kendrick is tremendously talented. But I think for the last 7 years, Drake has made his mark in hip hop, and I think it's an indelible mark, and I don't think he can be moved until he gives up that position.
Well said, sir. Very well said. Shayla Byrd.
Yes.
You are option B. You are in disagreement that Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar. Take us home.
Okay, Kendrick, like you said, Drake is a great rapper. He's a popular rapper. He's dope. Kendrick Lamar is just doper. And all the reasons that we discussed here, as far as basing this argument on popularity, Drake is popular and so is Kendrick. So what else is there? There's lyricism, there's awards, there's critical acclaim, there's like authenticity. There's all these other layers that are much more important when it comes to speaking about a rapper. And Kendrick he just excels on all those levels. And when 5 years, 10 years from now, when you're talking about rap, are you still going to be talking about Drake because he's popular? He's popular now, but is he going to still be popular 5, 10, 15 years from now? Like, I think Kendrick is one of those rappers that's up there with the Pac and the Biggie, and he's respected by pretty much everybody. He's like, everyone loves his music. Most people like love his lyrics. Like he's one of those people that excels on every level that you can have this conversation, even if you take popularity out of the context of this conversation. And that's why he wins. And, if like Barack Obama said, you got to go with Kendrick. And like what there's literally, he wins on every single page except literally albums sold. That's the only thing he wins on. And that's because Drake is more popular. But that's not enough to be a good rapper, to be a greater rapper than someone. And since the name of this podcast is Drake is a better rapper, or is Drake a better rapper, the answer to that is conclusively no, because he's a more popular rapper, yes, but Kendrick Lamar is a better rapper than Drake on every other level.
That was an excellent debate about who was the better rapper between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Listeners, go to optionairb.com and vote. Now, we're at the point of the show when I give the debaters an opportunity to plug something. And so option A always goes first in this regard. So, Midy, do you have anything you'd like to plug, sir?
I think I'd like to plug newstorycharity.org. It's my friend's charity. That's newstorycharity.org.
And how do you spell that?
New NEW story STORY charity CHARITY.org.
And do you want to explain a little bit about what the charity entails?
Yeah, sure. So they figured out a way to build low profit homes in countries such as Haiti and El Salvador, and for small donations, they're able to build those homes at a fraction of the cost and give homeless people places to live.
Definitely donate. That sounds like a great cause. And option B.
I love how you just tried to win the debate with the altruistic. Please check out the charity. In case you didn't like my argument, please check out this charity that helps people.
Hey, listen.
I'm going to plug my damn self.
That's Shayla all strategy, Shayla. That's all strategy. You better plug your church.
I hear you. I thought it was funny.
I'm joking.
I'm just going to plug myself because I'm a freelance copywriter and I write everything from digital content, social media to party flyers. So if you ever need some words, I'm your girl, ShaylaByrd.com.
And if you ever go on Fiverr and you're thinking you're going to find Shayla, you're not going to find her on Fiverr.
No,
it's worth more than $5. I'm going to let you know that right now.
Yes, thank you. I'm a professional.
No, honestly, I will say that you guys did such a hell of a job because, again, these are the two, in my opinion, you could throw J. Cole in there, but these are the guys that should be mentioned in the best that are doing it right now. And you guys obviously are fans and obviously like hip hop heads. So honestly, Shayla, Midy, thank you so much for coming on, because you guys were like cordial to each other. You guys didn't even curse at each other. You guys actually respected each other.
Imagine that.
Oh, wow.
Because you know how they say about hip hop, because I'm from the hip hop 90s when it was the East Coast versus the West Coast. I'm from the West Coast. And so like, I don't know if we would have been able to have this debate 20 years ago.
Isn't that literally the reason why you came up with this podcast though? Because otherwise this conversation goes on for 8 hours.
Oh,
like,
yes.
That house parties that I have in my kitchen. And this could just go in circles and circles, and it gets louder.
You don't want the circles. You don't want the circles. You have Shayla Byrd, you have Emmanuel Midy, two hip hop heads went head to head, and they did a damn thing. Congratulate them. But also go to optionarb.com and vote for who you think won.